Good evening, all. So welcome to my classroom. So in this lecture number 3, we are going to discuss about fuel cell technologies. So in lecture number 1 and 2, as a motivation to this course, we have seen what is the need for a clean energy, what is the effect of climate change, and why greenhouse gases has to be reduced. All that have been discussed in lecture 1 and 2. And we have even reiterated that most of the countries, particularly developing countries, we want to shift from crude oil based economy to hydrogen based economy, right? So in this regard, so this fuel cell or alternative energy from various sources are important. Okay, they have their own significance. So in this regard, so we fuel cell technology as an understanding of the principles and how it works and how we can improve the efficiency associated with all the components present in it, or operation, everything will be known in this particular course, fuel cell technology. Okay, so in this lecture we'll give a brief introduction to what is hydrogen, what are the properties of hydrogen, how this hydrogen fuel cell works, and we will see the basic classifications. We are going to discuss about different type of fuel cells in detail in the forthcoming lectures. So in this lecture, we are going to see the basics or preliminary introduction to fuel cell technology. Okay, I hope the rest of the people also will be joining. We will start with my presentation. As I told you, so we have seen what are the need for various alternative energies like green energy technologies. What are the various things we have discussed in the previous lecture? Okay, and in that regard, we have even seen 6 points. With respect to 6 points, we have discussed what is the need for clean energy. One is about addressing the climate change. 2 is about air pollution. 3 is about energy independence. 4th one is about energy demand, meeting the demands of energy and making a job available for the educated people coming out of the colleges. Okay, so that have been reiterated in the previous lecture, and we have seen what are the 50 polluting cities, and India is ranking most of the for top 40s. India is around 30 to 35 are from India. Okay, so that also we have seen. And to address the job availability for people, it is necessary that government invests in alternative energy or green energy technologies. Okay, so with that background, we'll get into this fuel cell technology. Usually, this course is being offered with different names in different institutes. So if you're looking for NPTEL lectures, all that, so this may be available as fuel cell engineering, fuel cell technology, or fuel cells and batteries, as we are named it. Okay, as I told, this course is only of recent times these have been offered. So there is no well-established textbooks available. However, there are some foreign author books which I have shown you in lecture number 1. And as I have told you, the content that we are taking are mostly from few of 30% is from textbooks, 30% is from research articles or review articles, and 30% is from daily current affairs. Okay, what is happening yesterday, today, last week, all that we are incorporating into this course as a content. Okay, because whatever government policies or with respect to new developments, all that are coming into picture in terms of current affairs. Okay, so that way, if you look at this fuel cell technology, it is considered to be one of the most promising alternative to the IC engines, which we have reiterated in lecture number 1, right, starting from steam engines to IC engines to hydrogen based engines. So we have seen that how it is more promising. Okay, and which will help us to reduce our dependency on the fossil fuels. Okay, so that is one of the main concern which we want to address, right? So what are the implications of these fossil fuels? We have seen or discuss them in detail in lecture number 2. Now we are going to getting into this fuel cell technology. To start with this fuel cell technology, the base is hydrogen. Okay, hydrogen is one of a energy carrier. Energy carrier is in the sense it is not the energy source. Okay, it carries the energy. So either you can convert from one form to another form because we know that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. So that way we can convert one form of energy into another form of energy. That way this hydrogen should not be told as a energy source. That we should make it clear. Okay, it's not an energy source. It's an energy carrier. Okay, so remember we know that crude oil or petroleum products which is derived from crude, they are all non-renewable sources which will eventually exhaust. Even in lecture number 2 we have seen how long this coal will come, how long will this petrol diesel will come, right? All that natural gas, how long, how many years it will come. Whereas when you compare, this hydrogen is eternal, it is going to be there available for us. Okay, so that's why we have at one point of time, either it may be in next 10 years or 20 years or more, we have to switch from hydrogen crude oil based economy to hydrogen based economy, which we call it as hydrogen economy, which is inevitable. And in those countries in which we'll start now will be the one in the business. That means they will benefit more. When we say benefit more, that means they will be more eco-friendly country when they move towards this hydrogen economy. Okay, so that's why it is an ubiquitous kind of technology which can produce zero emissions and much more efficiency than the IC engine based one. Okay, that's why the fuels, when we talk about this hydrogen, can be used more effectively than the IC engines, because we have seen the percentage efficiency possible, or well to wheel efficiency we have seen. So that efficiency or overall working efficiency, energy efficiency, so we can obviously have more when we are going to make use of hydrogen as the energy carrier. Okay, so if you look at the challenges relevant associated with it, there are few bottlenecks available associated with it also. One is like hydrogen is not an energy source, it is an energy carrier. So either hydrogen has to be produced or separated out from the air. Even though it is abundantly available, getting pure hydrogen is going to be a costly process. Okay, also storage of hydrogen also there. How, in which form, if you want to store hydrogen as a liquefied hydrogen, this is going to be energy intensive process. Okay, its cost is involved in converting a gaseous hydrogen into liquid hydrogen. Okay, and also to produce hydrogen we may depend upon the fossil fuels again. So that makes it's not a completely green process, right? So we are going to use hydrogen as a fuel in fuel cell, but whereas that hydrogen is produced from a fossil fuel source like natural gas kind of thing. So in that way, when the source from which the hydrogen is produced is not a non-renewable process, if it is not a renewable process, then it is also going to be a challenge for us, right? So that's why we want to produce more hydrogen from some pure what do you call green sources. Okay, and whatever is the infrastructure that is there, as I told you about CNG gas, which is being implemented in several places in Delhi or around it. So good infrastructure is also essential, right? As a government policy, then the stakeholders, all the stakeholders, businessmen should get confidence to make some hydrogen producing unit, hydrogen transportation, how safely it can be transported, and what is the GST that the government is going to impose on it, right? All is going to affect a person to start a new hydrogen producing plant. Say we are all capable of becoming an entrepreneur and start a new plant where we can produce hydrogen, purify hydrogen, high purity hydrogen can be produced, right? So you can even buy the technologies from abroad, we can start our startup. But how the government supports us when you are importing equipment for making hydrogen, how much concession is given, how much subsidy is given, how government is giving permission, at what rate, means how quickly they respond to your proposals, right? So that all going to be affect these things, right? So they are, that's why this is also one of the challenge. And another thing is about hydrogen is difficult to store and distribute, because why in the sense it has to be either stored in three forms. Okay, so either it can be liquefied form or high pressure, or in it can be trapped inside some solid hydrates. Okay, so that way different ways we can do it, that we are working on it. So those challenges needs to be addressed. Okay, remember fuel cell has a huge market. Okay, so fuel cell has a scope to replace all these diesel generators or batteries, where we see in every home we are nowadays having inverters, right? So in place of that, or even if you might have seen in every shopping complex or in front of a bank, you might have seen this type of stationary applications, that battery generators, right? Uh, that kind of thing we might have seen. So all these can be replaced with fuel cells, either in transport sector, as I told you in the previous lecture, in automobile sector, as well as in stationary applications like buildings. The building can be education institute, hospital, ICU wards, or it can be apartment, or it can be shopping complex. Okay, so everywhere this kind of fuel cell can be used, where we don't rely on the electricity from the government. Okay, so we can generate our own electricity. Possibility is there if you are having this type of setup, right? So otherwise, in case of power cuts, we have to use these fuel cells. Okay, so in case of transportation market, it's more energy density, which means hydrogen fuel cells will have a longer driving range and faster refuel times compared to batteries. The problem with battery is when you compare fuel cell and battery, so you are going to have the space volume, or in terms of energy, not in terms of volume. In terms of energy density, how much per gram or per kg of fuel, how much energy you can produce, or per kg of whatever capacity battery is there. So how much time you need to refill the battery? Charging of the battery has to be done for long time. Whereas in case of hydrogen fuel cells, it can be same like our petrol tanks. Okay, so if the government makes a proper infrastructure, as you can see here, if government can make infrastructure like it, so this what is that? It's like our petrol bunk. Okay, so in every 40-kilometer range, we should able to have a petrol bunk. Nowadays, how much in a highway, if it is going to be every 45-kilometer or 200-kilometer, if you are able to have petrol bunk for these kind of hydrogen bunks, people will be able to travel. Okay, so because if I fill one full hydrogen, how much distance I can travel? So that also a challenge. Okay, so whether I can go, once I fill it, am I able to travel 400 kilometers or 200 kilometers? So accordingly, whatever is the capacity of my vehicle, I should have a charging station at that particular. If my capacity is 200 kilometer, I can drive with my fully charged hydrogen cylinder. I should have every 200 kilometer, I should have a refilling station there, right? So that kind of infrastructure is developed. It has a huge market. Okay, so in case of transport sector, we are having that market. Similarly, stationary application, it's not a big deal because you have sufficient space is available. So one difference between diesel generator and this fuel cell is they work silently. They don't make noise. When there is power cut in apartments, we switch on the generator. Suddenly, huge noise comes. Okay, so that it's also releasing CO2 into the atmosphere. Whereas if you use hydrogen fuel cell, it will work silently and there is no emissions if we use hydrogen as the fuel. But if you are using any fossil what you call hydrocarbon as the fuel, obviously there will be some emissions of that also will be there. Okay, into the atmosphere, CO2 emission will be there. But if you consider ideally hydrogen as the fuel, in that case we will not have any emission. Okay, CO2 or NOx emissions. So what is the scope for this fuel cell technology, or what is the scope for this hydrogen based fuel cell applications? Where and all it is being used already? Okay, if you look at the different category, as I told you, there are two major case. One is transport sector, another one is stationary sector. So if you look at passenger vehicles, like passenger vehicles, it can be two passenger vehicle buses. Okay, you can consider bus, car, okay, rails. Okay, they also can be made into that. Also, you have trucks here. So these type of passenger vehicle trucks, forklifts. If you have seen in supermarkets, they will be having some 100 feet height. Okay, so what they will do is they will use the super fork. These forklifts will be used to keep the big boxes, and they will take it down and keep it for a daily use. Okay, because space constraint will be there to get a supermarket place in a city. So mostly they occupy a small land and they have very tall height thing. So there and all you might have even already seen these forklifts which works on the battery or fuel cells. Okay, and there are buses. Okay, and there are logistic vehicles, and even in aviation sector we can make use of these fuel cells, and even in marine applications, even in e-bikes, that is e-vehicles, we can make use of these fuel cells. Okay, that is hydrogen based fuel cells can be used. And if you look at the stationary power, in case of if you want to like UPS, no, right now what for UPS what we are using at our home, inverter, we are using batteries, right? So in place of batteries we can use fuel cells, so that way in stationary power, also it can be a combined heat and power unit, it can be uninterrupted power supply UPS system, or distributed power generation. So even as it can be worked as a power generation unit totally, you can have a fuel cell power plant. Okay, a full power plant can be a fuel cell power plant. Okay, or there are other applications like portable power in mobile phones, laptops. Okay, in mobile phones and laptops also, instead of battery we have a certain limit of battery, right? Lifetime of battery is getting over within 1 year, 6 months our batteries we are replacing, right? So in place of that, if you are able to use fuel cells in laptops and mobile phones, the continuous supply of fuel will be there, and the life is more. Okay, and even UAV like drones, in drones also, for charging the drones, unmanned aerial vehicles, we can make use of the fuel cells. So these are some of the potential applications of this fuel cell, and which have been already tested and demonstrated. Only large scale acceptance is still pending because of the some of the challenges which we have seen. Okay, so remember hydrogen is there in the atmosphere for several years and decades, right? But suddenly, for some time, why people have been talking about this hydrogen fuel cell? How? Why? What has changed? That we should know. Okay, so because what has changed since a long time? Means in recently, why it has changed? People, why should you see oxygen is there, hydrogen is there? Why IC engines are there? Why we want to replace IC engines with fuel cells? Why there is a change in our thought process? Why our thought process has changed? Because the politics has changed. Okay, so for to start us, politics have changed. In 1970s no one cared about this global warming, right? No one cared about this decarbonization, how much CO2 we are releasing into the atmosphere, right? And every country and the company world now has a zero emissions, net zero emissions target, and they wish to hit it by different country. Developed country want to be a net zero emission country. Net zero means net greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, net zero emissions target is by 2030 they want to be free from it. Okay, but some countries are 2040 as a limit, and some countries keep 2050 as the target. Okay, remember obviously this target will not be able to meet, because very difficult to implement all the policies, invest money, educate people, change the way people think. So obviously it may get delayed by 10 to 20 or even 100 years delay may be there. Okay, so that way, but however a target is a target. We people have a target ambitions, so which we would like to achieve, right? So even the US government is gearing up to pass a bill that includes even $550 billion in green energy spending. That means the new infrastructures to generate more energies, green energy, they are spending money, right? That's also important. Just it's not just sufficient that we announce that we will be become like this, that in few days. No, we have to, in addition to announcement, we have to allocate fund in our budget, right? Yearly when finance minister gives the budget, so automatically everyone comes to know, okay, this government has allocated money, the development will take place, right? It's applicable to state, central, every government. Okay, so that's what even US government is in gearing up to pass a bill which will give some huge money, and they will be moving towards green energy. Okay, remember also the cost of production also has changed. Okay, the economics of scale and advanced technologies, because with new inventions, new catalysts made, new membranes made with respect to chemical engineering point of view, and so when you are able to make such more efficient catalyst for anode, cathode, and you are able to make some electrolyte, better electrolytes, or if it is a polymer membrane electrolyte. We are able to make the cost of the catalyst as well as the performance of the catalyst. The more surface area available per gram of the catalyst are been increasing. So that way the cost is being decreasing. Okay, so the cost of operation, the cost of the initial capital cost is also decreasing. That also one of the factors. So the way people think, the government policies, that is changing. And number two, the cost is also getting reduced, and mainly the technology is also changing. As I told you, the technological breakthroughs, and there is I have in the lecture number 2, in the beginning I have shown you the cost of the each source electricity production from each source. So we have seen, except for nuclear energy, other sources we have seen that there is drastic reduction in the cost of production, right? So that is also one of the things. The technology is changing. Okay, so this green hydrogen production, wherein hydrogen is cost effectively we can produce from renewable energy sources similar to solar energy, wind energy. And if our reliance on natural gas to produce hydrogen is reduced, that also we are going to benefit. Okay, that will help us to get benefit. Okay, so this article just in the eve of the new year 2022, we have seen that there is going to be a big revolution, and there is a huge market scope for e-vehicles. Okay, so if we are able to remove the challenges which we have seen earlier, that our economy can be moving towards this hydrogen, because we are going to have some lot of markets thing is there. That is what you call is see, remember, when there is a proposal by the government, obviously, as I said, government will announce, okay, we are going to give subsidies, we are going to purchase this much, procure all these hydrogen based infrastructure for fuel cells or e-vehicles, all that. So when government promises, and even banks will be giving more loans to people who want to become entrepreneurs and start a new business in this hydrogen production, e-vehicles, or green vehicles, or green energy production, all this. Okay, so that way across the globe we can see that there is around $11 trillion hydrogen. Is $11 trillion US dollars is going to be the market level of this hydrogen. So that is the scope which have been reported. Okay, so in that report, okay, so that is itself what it shows, that we are definitely going to move towards hydrogen economy from the crude oil based economy. Okay, and why this fuss about all this hydrogen? Because the hydrogen has certain properties. Okay, so if you compare our properties with respect to what is existing, gasoline means referring to petrol. Okay, so natural gas, and in natural gas is also considered to be a better alternative than that, right? And if you compare to hydrogen, you can see it is the most light. The mass density, if you refer in terms of kg per meter cube, how light it is, you see, per unit volume, what is the mass it occupies. That means in a transport vehicle, if you want to have 1 meter cube of gasoline, okay, 1 meter cube is how much? 1000 liter. If you want to keep 1000 liter tank, it occupies 730 kg of volume, means weight, right? Whereas if you want to keep that same volume, it takes only less kg. Okay, so that way you have to compare. So if you compare, hydrogen density is very less, it is lightweight. Okay, so and if you look at the boiling point, it has a different boiling point than the gasoline. Okay, so that means your safety, you can consider about the safety of that. Okay, and what is the calorific value? If it is, you can see the calorific value. That means per kg how much joules of heat can be generated, right? So that if you consider the calorific value, you can see how more heat is generated per kg of the fuel. So for example, if 1 kg of petrol or gasoline is there, if it is going to generate 50.8 joules, then here it is going to be 142 joules. Okay, so it's megajoules. Okay, similar that way you can compare why this hydrogen is very good in comparison to this gasoline based vehicles. Okay, and the flammable limit in air is high. You can see that it is can be 1.4 to 17.6, whereas for hydrogen it can vary from 4 to 75%. And the flame speed with which it burns, That is going to be in the flip side here. The flame speed is very less with respect to petrol. Petrol burns like 0.4 speed. It will be burning at 3.45 speed. Okay. And if you consider the flame temperature, it is around, if it is burning, what is the temperature? Flame temperature is in comparison to gasoline, it is same. And the flame luminosity is very high. That is, when petrol burning, you will see that yellow color thing there, whereas this hydrogen will burn colorless. That's why the luminosity is very low. So there's except for this flame speed and luminosity, you have other properties are in favor of using hydrogen as the fuel than the gasoline. Okay, so that's why now we are able to list out the importance of this hydrogen. Hydrogen is around 75% of the known universe, and it is the third most abundant element on the earth. On earth, it's not an energy source like oil or coal. It's not like hydrogen is not like our coal or oil, crude oil. Okay, only an energy carrier like electricity or gasoline, a form of energy derived from a source. So that can be moved around from one source, one form to another form. Okay, so it's only a energy carrier. Okay, so it's not an energy source. The more versatile energy carrier, because it can be made from many sources and used for any of the applications. Okay, so not only for hydrogen can be used for fuel cells, it has various applications also, right? So it has a lot of energy, so that way it can be used, and it can be stored in large quantity also. And remember, the pure hydrogen is rarely found. Okay, so that means either we have to reform from the hydrocarbon or either any CH compounds with using the heat and catalyst, or we have to electrolyze the water. That is, we have to split the water to get hydrogen and oxygen, or some of the methods like experimental methods like photolysis, plasma, or microorganisms can be used to produce hydrogen. Okay, so that way this hydrogen is not available as a in a free form in the atmosphere. So we have to extract it from other sources, either by chemical reaction or electrochemical reaction or biochemical reactions. Okay, and remember, if you consider 1 US gallon of gasoline and 1 kg of hydrogen, this 1 kg of hydrogen having the energy as 1 US gallon of gasoline, which is weights not 2.2 but 6.2 pounds. Okay, so 6.2 pounds and 1 kg, they have the same energy. That's why it is energy intensive process. Okay, energy efficient one. Okay, with respect to these fuels in comparison to gasoline, hydrogen is very good fuel with respect to how much kg per kg, how much energy can be released. So, that way, but there is a concern with people making use of this hydrogen. What is the concern associated with the hydrogen? There are many people who say hydrogen is not safe, petrol is safe. Okay, so that we want to burst that myth. Okay, there are a lot of myths in and around people. So we have to just look, first we have to hear that, right? We have to see what they are telling. People say it is not safe. Let us see what is the fact. Okay, because there was an accident which took place in 1937, which is called as Hindenburg myth. You can just Google it and read it about it. And nobody was killed by the hydrogen fire in that. There was a fire of hydrogen in that flight. Okay, but what happened to that one? Okay, and whatever we are discussing is unrelated to hydrogen bombs. Okay, so now we will see this one. Hydrogen is comparably or less so. Any fuel are hazardous, right? So obviously it is also comparable to that, but only thing is, if some petrol is burning somewhere in your room, you will able to see the color and you know that some fire accident, fire is taking place. But only problem with the hydrogen is, hydrogen flame is colorless. You will not able to distinguish the flame and a normal room. Okay, so that is the thing, because there is not like a CO formation, smoke will be coming out kind of thing. When hydrogen is burning, it burns with a clear flame, so which we cannot see. That is the only difference. Okay, and it is hard to make explode. It cannot explode in a free air. It will completely burn out. See, for example, petrol and all, it will burst. Or the moment it catches fire, there is possibility that car will burst. Okay, after certain time. Whereas in case of this hydrogen, if there is continuous escaping is there, remember hydrogen is lightweight, right? So what it will do, it will escape to the top. If it is a closed room, all the hydrogen will escape to the top of the room, right? Top of the ceiling. It is the most lightweight. So once it escapes, it will go to the top, right? If it is released also, it means what? It won't affect my place if it is just getting released. It gets released. If it is open ventilation is there, it will go to the top and escape through the ventilation. That much safe it is. Okay. But whereas if it is even burning, we will not able to see the flame, but we have seen what is the intensity of the, because we have seen how much calories are released when the burning of hydrogen is taking place. So that way we will not able to bear that heat. That may be a case. Okay. So if you consider this, what is the explosive power with respect to gasoline and our hydrogen is, it is 22 times. So its order, okay, it is 22 times less explosive than the petrol. So that much it is. So it is more safe than your gasoline. If you consider it as an explosive power of the tank, when you have a tank of gasoline and you have a tank of hydrogen, so it is having, it is high, petrol tank may explode, it can be an explosive, but whereas this one will not be more explosive. Okay, so that way it is less explosive than your gasoline. And remember, as it is lightweight, it rises, so it doesn't puddle around. Okay. And even in the myth, you are going to read about this Hindenburg myth. Nobody was killed by the hydrogen fire. Okay. And whatever hydrogen bomb, that has nothing to do with our hydrogen safety. Okay. That is, a purpose is different. Okay. So as I pointed out, I am just reiterating, it is low density. That means it disperses readily in the air. Okay. And much time will be taken to reach a flammability limit. That's 2 point if you consider this about its low density. Okay, but it will easily disperse in the air. As I told, if it is open air, it will disperse and escape in the air, and it will take more time to reach a flammability limit, because it is quickly dispersing. There is no more concentration of hydrogen in a place. Okay, so that if it is open room, it is going to escape through. Okay. And problem, another weak thing, another problem with the hydrogen is that it has very low ignition energy. Even a very weak spark can ignite it. Remember, in two-wheeler and all, you might be having that ignition spark will be there. No, some problem will be there in starting. When you kickstart, bike is not starting, you will remove this ignition spark, and the spark plug you will be cleaning and keeping it again, right? So that small spark is necessary for that ignition to take place, even in IC engines, right? So with respect to hydrogen, problem is a very weak spark can ignite it. Okay, so that we have to take care. And with respect to its properties, it is colorless and odorless. There is no, you see petrol leak is there, you will never have the smell, right? We will have a smell of petrol. You can see that even some people like that smell. Okay, so we can easily identify that there is some leakage. Okay, even our house LPG cylinders, it is odorless only, but still we add some mercaptans kind of thing, which when it is leakage is there, we will come to know there is leakage, right? So we attend the problem there. Okay, so that way this is also odorless and colorless. So since it is invisible, dangerous, as people in the vicinity may not be knowing that there is a fire. Okay, so that is the problem associated with this thing. Okay. And remember, whatever is the emission from the hydrogen flame, it will not hurt or ignite the people or material by the radiant heat transfer, whereas petrol can make radiant heat transfer may take place and the people will get fire. Okay, catch fire. Okay, so that for that, whatever I am saying, we want to demonstrate, right? So a demonstration is done by having a hydrogen tank car and a gasoline tank car. Okay, with respect to time, what happens, you yourself witness it. Okay, this is a scientifically proven thing. So we have two cars. I hope you are able to see the screen. So in one side you are having hydrogen fuel cell car, and another one is gasoline fuel cell, gasoline car. Okay, that is petrol or diesel car. Okay, so how it burns, you can see the difference with respect to time. As I said, hydrogen is the most light one. It escapes and goes to the top into the atmosphere. So even if it with a very light ignition, even if it catches fire, what will happen? It will catch fire, but it will burn like this only. It's like a Diwali thing. If you see, that pot, how it is pot burns, hydrogen burns like that only. Whereas here in case of gasoline, you can see that it is spreading in all directions. Okay, so in x and y direction, if you say consider mathematically what is the direction, so there is no spread in x direction. Here it is only moving in the y direction. Okay, so that is, it is into the free atmosphere. Whereas this gasoline car, how it is spreading, you can see that it is not going top. It is only more x-axis. It is spreading in this way. That means assume we 3 people are there in the car. A family is there present in the car. What is happening to the 3 people here? Okay. So here they may not even know that this fire is taking place behind them. Okay, that much because it is flame, it is colorless and it is odorless. Night time they may able to see that one, right? So, but here it is very difficult for people to get out of the car also. Okay, so even with further time t1, 0 time is 0 and t equal to t1, and when t equal to t2, so you can see that even after further also, it is only still the same way it is burning. It is like a gas burner, it is burning. Whereas this petrol, it is getting spread across up to tire it has reached. Okay, so finally what happens? Here car will burn completely, whereas still last minute, it's like last drop of hydrogen is released and burned. There is no damage here. Okay. So that is the proof for us to understand whether we can use a hydrogen based vehicle or not. Okay. So which is more safe now, we will able to tell. Okay. So that way we should not believe in the myths, as I told you. So there are a lot of myths around this Hindenburg myth. You read about it in detail. Okay. So there was a flight accident. The people thought that there was a long hesitancy for several years to use hydrogen as the fuel again because of this different myth people had. Okay. So that way now we can clearly demonstrated that in between a hydrogen based vehicle and a gasoline vehicle, which is more safer. Remember, all are dangerous, all are explosive, but you see which one is less explosive. Okay, and that's why we want to think. In nutshell, what we should able to know is the advantage of hydrogen is energy per unit mass. As I told you, per kg of the fuel, how much energy, that is your energy density. Okay, so how much energy efficiency also you can say. So that the energy available per kg of fuel is 2.6 times more per kg of gasoline. Okay, so in comparison to petrol, you are going to get for same kg, let me say 1 kg of fuel. Remember, from kg to liter you can convert, right? You know 0.8 is the specific gravity of petrol. Okay, so per kg how much liter you can say. So you can see in comparison to gasoline, if you have same kg of hydrogen, it will run 2.6 times. That means what? With gasoline, if my vehicle gives 35 to 40 to 50, or even Activa gives 60, it varies, right, for our vehicles. If it gives this much kilometers per hour, means kilometers we are able to travel per liter, kilometers per liter mileage, it is going to give 2.6 times more. That means what? Instead of 60, it is going to give me around 6 3s are 18. So less than that, 160 kilometers per liter. Okay, even at the lower end, like our Pulsar bike, if it is 30, you are going to get around 62 to 63 kilometers per liter. So that means long drive can be done in comparison to the same mass of gasoline. That is the best. That is the advantage of this hydrogen based vehicles. Okay, but there is a disadvantage associated with it. What is that? Volume occupied per kg mass, because kg per meter cube we are talking about. Okay, but in reverse, meter cube per kg, how much volume it occupies per kg of the fuel. If you consider that, it needs 4 times the volume for a given amount of energy. For the same energy, it is occupying more volume because it's light. Okay, so that way inverse of density is meter cube per kg, right? So even with respect to energy, it is going to occupy more volume. Okay, so that way, if in a transport vehicle, we may have a constraint. Okay, that is why we want to store hydrogen in different form by compressing it in a cylinder, high pressure cylinder, or we want to do it in liquefied cylinder, or we want to put it in a solid matrix and trap it and save it in other form. That's why instead of storing it as hydrogen, let me store it as ammonia, so which I can take it. Okay, so which is so that way from ammonia I can recover hydrogen when on demand, on the spot. The problem associated with any chemical reactor is in a vehicle, the moment we put our key into the car, we want it to start, right? We cannot wait for 10 minutes for the ammonia to get converted into hydrogen, then the hydrogen will run the fuel cell, then we will move or take our journey, right? That everything should take the moment we put our key in our bike or car, whatever may be the form in which the fuel is there. Okay, so the immediately it should work instantaneously, because we cannot wait. Once we put the key, I want to move. Okay, so that needs to be taken care. Okay, so a 15-gallon automobile gasoline tank which contains 90 pounds of gasoline, whereas the corresponding hydrogen tank would be 60 gallons, but the hydrogen would weigh only 34 pounds. Okay, so that's what is an example of this, how much volume it is being occupied by the hydrogen. Okay, and if you consider what are the other advantages associated with these fuel cells, whatever may be the fuel cell, we have different type of fuel cell. The fuel can be different. As I told you, we can directly use hydrogen as the fuel, or we can use methanol, ethanol as a fuel, or we can have natural gas being produced from, you can use biogas, biomass, natural gas, gasoline, coal. From any source we may be able to produce hydrogen. That also based fuel cells can be there, and the application can be either it can be for transport sector, it can be for a stationary sector, that is like buildings, and it can be portable devices like our tab, mobile, laptops kind of thing. So whatever, so different applications, this kind of any fuel can be used, and it is possible to apply it. And what if you look at the benefits, what is the benefit? If you are using hydrogen as the fuel, when you use the hydrogen as the fuel, it is zero emission. When you are going to use this methanol or up to anything of this, and then hydrogen is being produced, we can comparatively say low emission is there. Okay, but not a zero emission of COX, NOx kind of thing. Okay, and obviously thermodynamically and operational efficiency, we are going to have high efficiency with these fuel cells, and it is reliable, it won't fail you. Okay, so the reliability and reproducibility is there for these fuel cells, and the fuel flexibility also there. Okay, it's not just only hydrogen can be used, you can make use of methanol, ethanol, so you have a diverse range of raw material required. For example, I am running an industry, I rely upon one of the raw material, my production will be stopped the moment due to COVID or any restriction, the supply is stopped. Okay, whereas I have alternatively 2, 3, 4 thing which can be used as the raw material. So just I may have to add one unit in front of my plant to adjust that, convert that raw material into my requirement, then my production will keep continuing, right? So that way we have a fuel flexibility with respect to fuel cell power plants, and energy security is there, safety point of view, and we have durability, the long life you are going to have, because when your battery, when you buy, once the battery charge is gone, you are throwing out. Even for our TV remotes, we have to replace our battery for after certain time, right? Laptops, we are replacing our batteries, mobile, we are replacing batteries, right? So that can be, for, whereas in a fuel cell, it is going to be as long as you are supplying hydrogen and oxygen, that cell will be working. Only thing is that other internal maintenance has to be done, either anode membrane, anode or cathode or electrolyte may be changed, but the system will keep working. Okay, as long as we are supplying the fuel and the oxidant. Okay, and with respect to scalability, the moment you keep it two, say for example, one produces 1 kilowatt, and I put two, one power plant can produce, so another power plant I can add, means we can make us, it is like we can stack them to get more power, because one fuel cell may produce around 1.5 volt or 0.5 volt. When I keep 10 times 10 in order, I am going to get that much watt. Okay, so that way power plant is easily scalable from 1 to, when you just make a multiply the number, you are going to get more power output. Okay, so that scalability is the advantage with respect to these fuel cells. If you have space, then obviously you can improve your production. Okay, and as I said, there is no noise release. This is told in comparison to diesel generators or other thing. So it is quiet in operation, it doesn't make any noise. Okay, even when you do biodiesel kind of thing, there will be anti-knocking properties coming into picture, where there will be noise taking place. Okay, whereas fuel cells have this advantage. And we should compare these combustion engines. They use fuels to expand gases to create energy. And if you compare the batteries, it is converting chemical into electrical energy. Whereas fuel cells, they are more efficient energy conversion device, where you use this hydrogen and oxygen to produce electricity and water plus heat. So these three are the products when we use the fuel cell. So there are different type of fuel cells are there, and they can be classified based on the electrolyte that we are using. Either you are using solid electrolytes or liquid electrolytes. Among the liquid, whether you are going to use acid or we are going to use base. Okay, we can classify them. Okay, and based on the fuel we are using, either we are using hydrogen, either you are using hydrocarbon, either you are using direct methanol, or we are going to use ammonia. So we can, based on the fuel that we are using, it can be there. Similarly, with respect to oxygen, either we may be using pure oxygen, or if it is going to be costly, remember high pure oxygen is costly, mostly we will be supplying air. Okay, so whether we are using air or oxygen, the name will be changing, classification is going to change. Okay, and with respect to temperature, it can be room temperature, or either you want to have it as high temperature, medium temperature applications. Okay, and based on that we are going to have different classifications. And remember, a fuel cell, by a definition, it is an electrical cell, which unlike storage cell like batteries, it can, unlike batteries, these fuel cells can be continuously fed with the fuel, so that the electrical power output is sustained indefinitely. That is the difference between a battery and a fuel cell. In battery, it has a life, whereas in case of fuel cell, as long as you are supplying the fuel continuously, we are going to have electricity generation. Okay, and they convert hydrogen or hydrogen containing fuel. As I told last class also, I asked you like quiz, right? Whether is the hydrogen is the only fuel for a fuel cells? No, either you can use hydrogen, it is well preferred one, but even hydrogen containing fuels also can be used. Okay, so that fuel can be either pure hydrogen or hydrogen containing gas or liquid. So they are converting these kind of fuels directly into electrical energy plus heat through the electrochemical reaction of hydrogen and oxygen. So hydrogen, oxygen giving water, it is a reversible one. So you can balance it stoichiometrically. So you have H2 plus O2 giving water, right? So this is the reverse of this is, so this is way, if it works, it is fuel cell. I told you the reverse of water becoming H2 plus O2 is called electrolyzer, which is called water splitting reaction. In this what, here plus energy, okay, so in case energy is produced here, product, whereas here we have to supply energy. So that is what I was talking you in the previous lecture also. I was telling, in case of solar energy and wind energy, if you are able to generate electricity, but we cannot store that energy for a long time, so what we can do is we can use that thing to produce this hydrogen and oxygen by supplying the energy from whatever energy produced from solar sources or wind sources or other geothermal or any other alternative water into hydrogen and oxygen and store the hydrogen, store the oxygen. Okay, the moment we there is a shortfall, it is like no surplus production is there. when you are, see, remember solar energy or wind energy, when, as long as you are producing 100 kilowatt, okay, and your daily usage is 100 kilowatt, no problem, carry on. We can feel continuously whatever is produced being used. Whereas sometimes your demand is less, 18 kilowatts only, nobody using AC, nobody is using TV for some time. Then you are producing 100, but only supply demand is only 80. Remaining 20, what you can do, this 20 kilowatts can be used to convert this water splitting, that is to convert water into hydrogen and oxygen, and this hydrogen and oxygen are stored. And when there is supply problem, when there is huge demand increasing in summer where we need 120, but your solar energy power plant is only producing 100, that time what we can do, hydrogen oxygen is produced and kept, right? So that can be used here for this fuel cell, and it will produce energy which can be supplied to meet this excess demand, right? So that way it can be combined with, that is the advantage of this fuel cell technology, that this technology can be combined with any other power plant. Either it can be thermal power plant, hydro power plant, or nuclear power plant, or solar energy, or wind energy power plant. It can be a subsidiary unit, it can be a complement, it can complement well with other power plants. So whenever you are having excess power generated, you can use to run electrolysis, because it's a similar setup, right? One setup is electrolysis, another setup is fuel cell, but equipment is same. Okay, so that way this reaction is going to take place. Hydrogen, oxygen are stored safely. After 2 months, 3 months, there is production is reduced. So in summer, hydropower plant may be working with less capacity. That time, to meet the demand, we can use this hydrogen and oxygen cylinder and produce energy, more energy. Okay. So that is the fundamental behind this fuel cell. It is an electrochemical energy conversion device which continuously converts the chemical energy as a fuel, energy of a fuel, directly into an electrical energy. Remember, electrical energy is an byproduct here. Okay, because the reaction is hydrogen plus oxygen is giving water, and additional thing is this EMF is generated, that E of the cell is going to be, theoretically it is going to be more, 1.22 volts. Okay, per 2 moles of hydrogen and 1 mole of oxygen will form 1 mole of water. There you have this one. Okay, so that means, so this is the EMF of the cell. Okay, so what is that is the overall reaction, but what is happening at the anode and what is happening at the cathode is what we should know. So at the anode, water will be entering this anode zone, where this H2 will become H plus ions and 4 electrons are released. Okay, so that is passing through the external circuit. Okay, so only the ions will be moving from this side to that side. Okay, so what happens, this H plus ions are crossing over. Okay, H plus ions are crossing over this place, and oxygen is entering here. So here the cathode side, so in the cathode side oxygen is entering, where this oxygen will this H plus ion has crossed the barrier, right? Either it can be membrane or liquid, whatever may be the electrolyte. So this oxygen plus H plus ions and the electron which has came through this external circuit will react together to form water molecules. So for every mole of, for 1 mole of oxygen, there will be 2 mole of water being produced. Okay, so that way when the overall reaction is simple, H2 plus O2 giving 2H2 plus of O2, okay, 2H2 plus O2 giving H2O is the overall reaction. So what is happening at the anode and cathode we have seen. So where from this H plus ions came, it has come from this product of the anode side. So but how it reached the cathode side, it has came across the electrolyte. It is a membrane. Okay, so we essentially have a membrane. If it is a polymer membrane, okay, we have a membrane which does not allow the electrons to flow across it. Okay, it stops the electrons flowing across the membrane. Only these H plus ions are allowed to go across this membrane, or sometimes these OH minus ions will be passing across a membrane in different type of fuel cell. Okay, so when you consider simply a hydrogen oxygen fuel cell, so this is what is being happening. So where we are supplying the fuel, we should know that negative electrode, which is called as anode, fuel electrode. There are 3 names: negative electrode, fuel electrode or anode is where hydrogen is being supplied. Fuel, whatever is the hydrogen here. Okay. Similarly, oxidant. Oxidant is supplied at a positive electrode or also called as oxidant electrode or cathode. So, in any electrochemical setup, we are going to have cathode and we are going to have anode. So, particularly for this fuel cell, we should know that hydrogen is supplied at the anode side and oxygen is supplied at the cathode side. Okay, that basic thing we should know. Okay, and the reaction taking place, and anode, what is the voltage, and what is the cathode, what is the voltage, what is the overall voltage, we can see that one. Okay, thermodynamics of this reaction we are going to discuss in detail when we discuss about the derivation for efficiency of a fuel cell. Okay, that will be discussed later. So right now we are at the thing. Okay, so if you want to see that hydrogen and oxygen gases are electrochemically converted into water, and there are many advantages over the heat engines because the efficiency is very high, they are operating very silently, and if hydrogen is the fuel, there are no pollutant emission. I am just summarizing what we have discussed so far. Okay, so if the hydrogen is produced from renewable energy sources, then electrical power produced can be truly sustainable energy. Okay, sustainable energy refers to the source is also green. Okay, and the benefits of these fuel cells, after knowing all these things, we can in detail we should able to explain the benefits of a fuel cell. So the benefits of the fuel cell can be explained with respect to different points. Okay, with respect to environmental performance, with respect to energy efficiency, with respect to its versatility, with respect to the health benefits to the people, with respect to the fuel flexibility, and how it can complement to other power plants. Okay, so that we have already discussed in bits and pieces to put them in perspective. Here, if you consider the environmental performance, we know that the hydrogen fuel cell, we have seen that hydrogen H2 plus O2 will form only water, heat and electricity. Okay, so these three are the products. That means it is not going to produce any air pollutants or greenhouse gases. So they can significantly improve our environment. In the previous lecture, we have seen what is the impact of greenhouse gases into the global warming and what IPCC committee has recommended. All governments, whether it is developed country or developing country or a poor country, should reach the goal of having a net zero emission processes. Okay, so that is important. And with respect to energy efficiency, we have seen that the fuel cells are 2 to 3 times more efficient than the combustion engines. And for the cogeneration applications with other power plants, where means with respect to other heat recovery units, fuel cells can generate both heat, electricity, and efficiency can be close to 80% efficiency. Remember, if it is a fuel cell is used in houses, during winter time, wherever you are, if it is winter time, that whatever heat is generated, that can be used to keep our house warm, particularly during this winter. Okay, in north we have more winter. Okay, so that where that in those places when you have used fuel cell for power generation, whatever heat is being generated can be used to keep your water, boiling water for your geysers. You can heat the water. Heat can be used to make hot water for bathing purpose, or you can keep your room warm by using the heat also. Okay, that way the overall efficiency can be always more, and it is can be as close as 80%. Okay, so what about the versatility? As I told, fuel cells are scalable. Per cell, we have seen what is the technical efficiency. Theoretically, the efficiency is you can get 1.2 voltage per cell per unit. So if you keep 100 units, you are going to get 100 into 1.2. Okay, that much volt. If it is 100% efficiency, let us say if it is 50% efficiency, 0.6 volt per cell. If you keep 100 cell, you are going to get 6. You can put 1000 cells, obviously, right? So that way, it is more versatile. They are scalable and it provides everything from millivolt power plant, small power. It can charge your cell phone. It can use to run your car. Even you can use to power the entire apartment, right? Or it can be used in other applications also, right? So that way it's more versatile because it is scalable. What is your requirement? Accordingly, I can make, right? So that way these fuel cells are good. It's not that it comes with a particular output. Okay, so you can tailor made. It can be tailor made to our energy demand. Say for example, our apartment demand is only 200 kilowatts. So why we have to keep a 500 kilowatt unit? Okay, so better is Pakka unit can be made with these fuel cells. Okay, so that way fuel cell technologies have good scope, particularly with respect to the versatility. And the benefits of hydrogen, we have seen that hydrogen fuel cells, they are only producing heat water. There is no toxic air pollutant which is being, which means that when you are operating, when everybody uses the same in your neighborhood, so nobody is going to get your cardiovascular problems. Okay. So that way there is health benefits also associated with the moment we move from your greenhouse gas emissions and reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, so breathing problem, air quality index will change in all our cities also, right? So that is why it is have more significance. And with respect to fuel flexibility, which we have discussed, so instead of hydrogen, we can use methanol, natural gas, ethanol, biogas also can be used, but we should have a steam reformer unit extra, because that whatever is the natural gas, hydrogen has to be produced, then that hydrogen will enter into the fuel cell. Okay, so that additional unit is required. However, there is flexibility of using more fuel. However, it is not going to be a greener. It's no longer greener when in the moment we are not using simply hydrogen. Okay, when you use others, it will be changing. And with respect to complementary, as I told, it can be used combined with any other energy technology such as batteries, wind turbines, solar panels, or supercapacitors. So wherever you produce energy, it can be complement where you can excess energy can be stored in the form of hydrogen and oxygen. The moment you need energy, it can run through the fuel cell and the energy can be produced. Okay, so that is why. So these are some of the advantages. Okay, because there are some places where we cannot have a diesel generator. We have a IC unit, we have small kids our home. Okay, so we have small constrained place. Okay, where you cannot you afford to use a noisy applications. Okay, so with the equipment or the power generation which is noisy and releasing lot of pollutant, we cannot use, right? So that way these fuel cells are very quiet in the operation, as it is a static device and it is less pollutant. We have seen it's not releasing anything. The conversion efficiency is more, and because there is a direct conversion of energy, means electricity is directly produced. Okay, so and it can be another advantage of the fuel cell power plant is any closest place you can keep. Say for example, I have a city, I cannot have a hydrothermal power plant there, right? Because it has to be safe where we have water. So it has to, there is transmission loss is there, right? So all those transmission losses can be reduced because these fuel cells can be installed very near at the point of location where you need it. That's why villages, remote villages are there, hamlets are there. You have small villages in the hill stations where you don't have proper road facility, right? So you cannot have a transport, means proper electrical connection cannot be given to those places, right? Remember, India is still achieving the 100% electrification of all villages, right? So those remote villages where we cannot have a transmission line because in between 5 kilometers nothing is there. I have to put a transmission line there and give a electrician. Rather than that, you can go for this fuel cell power plant, which was just simply because you can put solar panel at the top of the building. You can receive solar energy can be stored in the form of hydrogen and oxygen. Later in the night time, it can really we can produce the thing because evening time we want to operate, right? Street lamps can be then, right? That way this can be installed very near to the point of application, so thereby we are avoiding the transmission losses or distribution losses or stealing. People steal the electricity, right, through for functions and all, any political function or any uh, temple functions, they don't pay for electricity, they just put two wire, electrician will come, they will throw the wire into the two posts, then automatically connection will come, we will use it, right? So the type of losses also will not be there. Okay, so you can stop the loss of energy in that way, transmission way, distribution way of stealing, all that. Okay, and here there is no cooling water requirement in the condenser. In case of a conventional steam plant, you will be using some cooling water, because steam is there, lot of that steam has to be condensed before we are dispersing it off also, right? Because any water which is being there, which has to be released into natural environment, we have to cool that. So lot of cooling tower requirement will be there in case of steam power plants, whereas here there is no requirement of water. So water is already, we have problem with water conservation, for water conservation. So this is one of the good technology, fuel cell technology. Okay, and we have seen that modularity, so easily the capacity can be added as demand is growing. The moment now I am producing 100 kilowatts, next 10 years I want 150 kilowatts, easily we can add another plant. Okay, the addition is very simple, add a unit, get that voltage, right? So that way it is easy. Another thing is, in comparison to several other technologies of energy production, this is more compact and it requires very less space, and availability of choice from large number of possible fuel. We have seen the versatility of the fuels, right? And it can be operated as per our load percentage, how much we want. Either you want to operate with 50% or you want to operate it with 100% capacity. So operational capacity also can be easily adjusted. Okay. Yeah. So what about the cost? So because with the moment we talk about all these advantages of the fuel cell technology, the cost of hydrogen is going to be an issue. Okay, we have seen that how governments are focusing to reduce the cost. This is the latest news I am sharing with you. So this is one of the current affair thing. So US Department of Energy Hydrogen Fuel Cell and Infrastructure Technology, they have had a goal. Earlier they told that by 2005 hydrogen should be available at $100 per gasoline equivalent. Okay, whereas in 2010 the price should be going down by $1.5 with increased technology. Okay, so even if it is a $3 per gallon is very attractive, because FCV refers to fuel cell vehicles. Okay, so these fuel cell vehicles are 2 to 3 times more efficient than the IC engine powered vehicles. So could potentially be less than $1 per gallon if we, all the goals that we are having in mind are achieved. Okay, so if you look at what is the target and what is the thing which is achieved in the developed country like US also. So hydrogen levelized cost and electricity price is there. You can see production cost. Let us concentrate on the production cost. You can see the production cost in 2011 was around $4 per kg of hydrogen. Okay, whereas in 2015 they had a target of $3.9 per kg. In 2020, yeah,
Excuse me, sir.
yeah,
Sir, time is
yeah,
5:30.
that's what we are winding up now. Last two slides. Okay. So 2.3 was the dollar per kg of production of this hydrogen. So now what they have done, it is like 2020, no? So which I have referred to the website to see what is the update. Okay. So 2020, 11 status was like this. 2020, they could able to reduce the cost by this way. Okay, cost contribution you can see. You can see the total hydrogen cost levelized. It is not able to achieve that one. Okay, so by 2020, they able to achieve only $4. But what was the target? They had a target to reduce the cost by $2.3 per kg, whereas they have achieved only 4 kg. Okay, so that's what we want to wind up. To summarize, it's a fuel cell is a device that uses the hydrogen and oxygen to generate electricity like a battery. This also has electrode as well as electrolytes. Whereas in case of batteries, they only store energy, whereas fuel cell will keep producing energy and they don't need any recharging also. So as long as we are supplying the fuels like hydrogen and the oxidant air, it is supplied, there will be continuous generation of energy. Okay. So there are some challenges associated with it, which we'll discuss in detail in the next class. To before winding up, just how the hydrogen fuel cell operates. Very simple video. With this, we will stop. Okay. So what is happening inside a hydrogen fuel cell? Hydrogen and oxygen combine to form electricity that we have seen. How it works? What is happening inside a fuel cell? So we have hydrogen gas and oxygen gas is entering, and this has a anode, cathode, and electrolyte. and product water is formed, so there will be exit for water, and the moment hydrogen is entering the system, and another side we have oxygen is entering. Hydrogen enter in the anode side, oxygen enters in the cathode side, and only H plus ions will be passing through the membrane or whatever electrolyte. So the moment that H plus ion goes to the right hand side, oxygen, H plus ions plus the electron which has entered will form water molecule. So that formed water molecule will be leaving the system as a byproduct. Okay. So you can see that electrons H2 will release the electron which will go through the external circuit, which is EMF generation. Okay, so that's what we want to discuss in this lecture. Thank you so much for joining the classroom. Those who have doubts can stay back, others can leave. Okay. Any discussion?